Hello, Booktube. It's day 2 of Litmas, uh, um, a project initiated and created by the guys over at Strip Cover Lit. We'll link them below. I was supposed to do that yesterday. I did not. Um, and we'll put the questions down below this time, I think. Last night we had Santa visit the library on a fire truck. Great fun. Biggest crowd we've ever had. A lot of happy children and some really cute moments. And I vacuumed a lot of cookies out of our brand new carpet. Yep. Well worth it. So the question today is the best writer. I'm not saying this perfectly, but you get the idea. It's the best writer that I'd never read before, that I was introduced to this year, looking around for the book, excuse me. And it's a pretty easy choice for me. I've read some very well-known and popular booktube writers this year that I had never read before. Let me think. Brandon Sanderson, very much enjoyed. Patrick Rothfuss, very much enjoyed. I read some standard things, authors, and that I'm very familiar with, obviously, but neither of those two writers are my choice, and both were very, very good, and I'm glad I made their acquaintance. But I read a book recently that Steve Donahue sent me, and it's astounding. John W. Campbell, Isaac Asimov, Robert A. Heinlein, and L. Ron Hubbard in the Golden Age of Science Fiction by Alec Navala Lee. And we got company here. And right when I had started, Matt Wall over at Paperback Junkie interviewed Alec Navala Lee on Booktube and on his podcast. And I'll try to link that below too. We're going to try to keep the promises about linking. I hope we can do it. It was marvelous. Yeah, the questions that the Paperback Junkie asked, the way he asked them, the author's way of handling and answering them were fantastic. I mean, I was going to say astounding. But no, that it is top-notch work. I think Matt's calling may be in that, because I couldn't have done it myself for sure. And it takes a lot of work to do something like that. You have to have the questions prepared. You obviously have to have read the book. You have to have some background in the subject matter. So yeah, very, very impressive. And then I just kept reading. And this is an era dear to my heart. I grew up with the big three, Heinlein, Asimov, and Arthur C. Clarke. There's other characters that show up in this. I didn't know a lot too, and that was what made it fascinating and somewhat shocking. There's a lot of shocking things in here for those of us who I came in on the tail end of the golden age of science fiction. But these guys were my heroes. Asimov, Heinlein, Arthur C. Clarke especially. He plays a minor role here, but he is in here. John W. Campbell was a living legend, the editor of the magazine. He created, or at least dominated, the landscape. And I have read quite a bit about each of these fellows, except for L. Ron Hubbard. And I learned more from this book. There's very few things that I read that actually make me emotional. This book actually did that on several occasions, which takes a bit. I mean, there were people I knew personally, but they formed the backdrop of a good portion of my life, and I very much admired them. And there were disturbing things in this volume, and they're handled brilliantly. There is not a page in this that's poorly done. And this is a book that really, really needed to be written, because this has influenced everything in our popular culture. This ends right when Campbell's in decline and we start losing some of our characters here, with Gene Roddenberry reaching out to some of these characters, and then Star Trek comes along, and you have that shift from the print magazine to television, which eventually will lead all the way through to George Lucas, and, well, he's influenced mostly by Joseph Campbell and mythology, but he's influenced by this. The movies, the television, to the present day, where this is just part of our culture. So I was very pleased to make the acquaintance of Alec Navala-Lee. I did not realize he's also a fiction writer. He's a published science fiction writer. But I think this is his calling. He is really, really good. So I would strongly recommend this book. I would strongly recommend checking out, and thank you for it, Steve, checking out Matt Wall, the Paperback Junkies interview, which is, like I say, is excellent, and his podcast. And this is it. This is the book. So before I close out here, I did get out a little bit. Today I had to work most of the day, and then my glasses over there. Then I get home and I want to go do something, because most of my days are spent at the library. And my wife and I went out for a bit, and we went looking for some books. She was looking for other things, so we went into my favorite new thrift shop over in New Hampshire. So I grabbed a few volumes. There wasn't a lot there that I wanted. They had some good stuff, but it's stuff I already have or whatever. But first thing I got was this Penguin Classics, Geoffrey of Monmouth, The History of the Kings of Britain. Pretty good shape. So let's see what we got here. Need a drink of beer. Translated with an introduction by Lewis Thorpe. I have read this in the past. Would not mind revisiting it. So it was $1, so I grabbed that. Then this next one, I thought I had read years ago, and I just was looking through it before I started filming here. I don't think I really have. I don't know why I thought I did. I don't know if I had it, saw it somewhere, and I thought I'd read it 30 years ago. I do not believe I have. And it's by a writer I enjoy. So it's Julian by Gore Vidal. Not in very good shape. This will be a one-time read-through, and it'll probably go away. And we'll just see how it is. This came out 62 and 64, but this first vintage edition is March of 77. So like I say, it's in a bit of a rough shape. I don't know if it'll survive more than one reading, but all it needs is one. A map of 4th century Roman Empire. There's a little bibliography I noticed in the back of the sources he consulted. This is about Julian Apostate. He's a descendant of Constantine the Great, and who converted the empire to Christianity. And then Julian wanted to go back to the old ways, and it obviously did not work, but I always wanted to read this. This is one of those historical novels that seems to have slipped by me. And then the last thing I found, I'm a huge fan of John Fowles and his writing and his style of writing. And normally I would not pick up a volume that is the second volume in a collection, but I did, because I may even go online and order this. I got it for $2. And this is the Journals, John Fowles, Volume 2, 1966 to 1990, edited by Charles Drazen. Of course, Fowles is the author of The Magus and The French Lieutenant's Woman, or Lieutenant's Woman. Great cover. And I feel like, this is sort of something Donahue would do, is pull out of there. So it's a review copy. but we could glue it on here, I guess, nowadays. But anyhow, so it's his journals. I'm looking forward to it. I hope there's some nature stuff. I know he was really, really into that, and if I like it, I'll dip in and out of it. But if I like it, I will track down Volume 1 somehow, and then have the set of them. So thank you to Strip Cover Lit for this, and everybody for watching. So that was day 2 of Litmas. Thank you, Booktubers.